Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you're listening from. I'm really excited to have a special guest interview today with somebody I met last year who I feel very, very aligned with in the work that she's doing and the work that I'm doing. So I think this is going to be a really interesting and juicy conversation. Vanessa Smith is an energy guide, identity seer, and visionary builder. She uses tools like astrology, human design, and gene keys, as well as energy psychology and transformational healing to help other visionary builders get clear on what's been blocking their build and realign with who they are here to be so they can lead their calling from there. Hey, Vanessa, welcome.
Thanks, Jess. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have this conversation. Um, First, I always start off these conversations. I want to know people's story. You have an interesting story that spans a significant amount of time. So start wherever you feel like you need to start and tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how you got to where you are now doing what you're doing.
Oh gosh. Okay, great question. And I love telling this story. And I think the intersection between when I moved abroad and when my entrepreneurial journey really transitioned into something much bigger than what I anticipated it to be, they intersect. And so I will start with the move abroad because uh, right now we're in this really incredible transformational time where intuition is getting louder for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we have a call to be in a certain area of the planet, where whether that is like traveling there for a period of time or relocating there, it's really important to pay attention to that. And so I always love to remember why I felt called to come here where I am. So I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area, and I currently live in France. But I've been over in Europe 9 years, and I would have never anticipated that this was my life, that this is what was going to happen. And I have to tell you the origin story. Back in late 2015, have you heard this before? Have I
No, I
shared?
don't think so. Just
Okay,
read a little bit on your website.
so back in 2015, late 2015, I heard a very specific date in my head, and April 17th, 2017,
Wow.
very specific. And I thought that has to mean something. And I heard move to Europe. And I was like, okay, no plans to move, no talking about moving. I had a 5-year-old son at the time, and, or actually, he was four, a 4-year-old son at the time. And I said to my husband, I said, this is really strange, but I heard a very specific date. And I just felt like we're supposed to move to Europe. And he was like, that's weird because, and I didn't tell him the date. He said,
Hmm.
last week I had the same exact thing happen to me where I heard a date and I had this strong feeling that we were supposed to move to Europe. I said,
Wow.
shut up. I said, what was
Wow.
your date? And he said, April 17th, 2017. And I was
Wow.
like, what do we do with that? And he said, figure out how to move to Europe. And
Wow.
so that is what we did. He is more of a researcher guy, so he got to work and exploring the different places that we could potentially live. But ultimately, we basically looked at a map and looked at what intuitively popped out to us on the
Wow.
European continent, and uh, and we left in March of 2017. And I was a little bit disappointed because I really wanted this April 17th moment. But when we
Hmm.
got here, we didn't have a place to live. We had our 5-year-old, our 13-year-old cat,
Mm.
and 9 suitcases. So
Wow.
we sold everything and we just jumped. And a lot of people said to us, some people said that's stupid. Some people said, you know, wow, that's really brave, or it takes a lot of courage. But for both of us, because we work so intuitively, that's just our core reference point. It didn't even strike us as stupid or brave. It just
Mm.
was aligned. It just was aligned for us. It was correct for us. And because we know to trust that, it became the foundation for us to like really follow through on what would it take? Who do we need to be to actually make this happen? So not just the strategy, but also the identity of the person making these decisions that would move us in that direction. So I think that was part of the I want to say like the pre-framework for my own evolutionary journey within my business.
Mm-hmm.
But just to finish the story, so we get here, we don't have a place to live, we don't have job contracts. Everybody around is saying how hard it is to find a place to live, etc. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as people do, they have their opinions that they feel the need to share.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kept to it. We had a list of exactly what we were looking for. You know, here's our budget. We need it to be furnished. We need them to
Mm-hmm.
accept cats, you know, all of these pieces. And a woman reached out to us and said, I've been following your story online and I have a place. Do you want to come look? So we went to the look. It hit 90% of what was on our list. And she said, you know, I really hope my husband doesn't get, you know, angry at me, but I just have an intuition that your family should live in my place. And are you interested in that? And we said, yes. You know, but normally I would do the credit check, the job contract, all of these pieces. But she said intuitively, she had no idea that my background was in intuition or that we moved
Mm-hmm.
over here via intuition, none of that. And so we signed the contract and we moved in on April 17th,
Wow.
2017. So it really was that full circle moment. And I think that again set this stage for leaning into not just intuition but energy as a whole, like really
Mm-hmm.
understanding that there's information about the story of our lives and the story of our journey as an entrepreneur that exists in this energetic field that is us and this larger collective field as well. And because we're so patterned in the way that we approach our lives, approach our daily doings, our perspectives, our community, we often overlook like these other possibilities that are existing in the field waiting to be noticed. And
Mm-hmm.
so part of the work for me started like when I got over here and I opened up a business specifically, you know, we started in the Netherlands, is I wanted to bring that concept forward that you're here for more, there's a bigger purpose for you, and it's really important to learn to start to tap into this larger energetic field, to really hone your intuitive channel and to understand that you are operating in an energetic reality that wants to make contact with you. It wants you to start to read the information that's available for you for your life, for your the best possible path for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started working here, and I, you know, I've been doing intuitive or more energetic readings since, oh gosh, since 2000. Okay, so for a very long time, that was my wheelhouse and my lane is when I look at people through that intuitive lens, or I mean, really, I'm a psychic. I just don't love that term, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just reading energy. And when I look at people through that lens, what appears to me like my lane of specialty, I guess you could call it, is I see them as if they're operating at their highest potential. It literally exists like this thin energetic overlay, visual overlay on top of them of what it would look like if they were operating in their potential, doing their purpose work, what
Mm-hmm.
exactly their purpose work is, the um,
Mm-hmm.
connections and collaborations, the different pathways for their purpose work to be realized. And so
Wow.
it was a beautiful, I mean, it was always really exciting for me actually to see someone, they come to me, I feel stuck, I feel like there's something more for me, but I don't know what, and I can't put my finger on it. So I would get to reflect back to them what I see
Mm-hmm.
and then be met with tears, relief, gratitude. Yeah, just it felt like a very intimate and sacred exchange. And I really loved that. However, this is where my journey started to really evolve because as I came over to Europe and I was continuing to do this kind of work and still getting the same responses that I always had, there was a desire in me to let's build it.
Yeah.
Like, let's take this image, this potential impossibility, and where the rubber meets the road kind of a thing. Like, let's actually start to use your gifts to build this out because it's part of a larger shift that's happening right now. And that's where it got a little bit sticky because some people were like, no, I just want to see the pretty picture. Like
They're not
I just
ready.
want to see
Hmm.
what's possible for me. Can you just please be
Wow.
a psychic and pat my ego?
Mm.
And then other people said, you know, yes, I want to build but I'm scared and
Mm.
I'm stuck and I don't know where it's blocked exactly. And so my own gift was able to refine to the degree that I can see exactly what's blocking the build
Wow.
and exactly what needs to happen. So it starts to move in the way that you know that it's meant to move.
Hmm.
And that's where I am now, right? Like to
Hmm.
really be with the builders, because once you place your purpose work in this larger context of the paradigm shift that's happening right now, you you don't lose your ego. Egos are great for what they are, but you just have such an expanded sense of self, sense of place, sense of belonging. It's like the puzzle piece just like clicks in and you go, "Oh, now I know how I can be of use." Like
Hmm.
this isn't just about my purpose, my alignment. Yes, I want that, but I want this larger impact. Like I want to be part of this change. I've been talking about this for the past couple of years, but now we have all the evidence in the world
Yeah.
now that we really are in a paradigm shift. Like the old systems are breaking down clearly. And so my people are the people that are born to build the new. And so I had to make this positioning shift, this identity shift for myself as I'm no longer, okay, a cool psychic, but like not just the psychic that does these one off readings for people who feel stuck and want a glimpse of what's possible for them. I'm now an identity seer.
Mm.
I'm an energy guide. I'm now a visionary builder because I see my role in this larger ecosystem and how I'm to bring these visionary builders into themselves in such a way that they can start to lay the groundwork, lay the infrastructure for what's next. And so there's that identity piece that shifted for me, which then allowed me to facilitate that for others with integrity, you know,
Hmm.
because I've done the work myself. I'm still doing the work. I mean, we always
Yeah.
evolve in terms of our identity. So that was a very long introduction, but that's been my journey. That's been my journey.
Oh, amazing. So many points I want to touch on. I mean, the identity piece, this is something that really connects me to the work that you're doing. I feel like is a conversation that I'm continually having with clients, potential clients, especially lately. I've been promoting and onboarding people for this group coaching mastermind that I'm starting tomorrow. And when I stepped back and looked at all of the conversations I've been having with women who are interested, maybe they sign up, maybe not, but they're interested in doing this work of building, a business around their purpose. The really, sure, strategy is interesting and important to talk about, and they feel stuck and like, how do I market myself and find clients and all that? But really, the piece that kept coming up that's like really sticky is that identity shift. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
not feeling 100% confident that who they're stepping into when they plant their flag in this entrepreneurial endeavor that that they're creating and having a business and calling themselves a certain title and promoting themselves and being super visible. It's so sticky because I don't know, we get so attached to our identity. And a lot of it has to do with how other people see us, right? Um,
Yeah.
and like we might see ourselves the way that you see us. I love that you have this gift. I want to talk more about that for
Yeah.
seeing people sort of in their
Yeah.
highest vibration. Um, but how do you speak to somebody who feels like they resonate with the vision you see, they see it too, they get that there's a big identity shift that needs to happen, right? Let's say the vision is for them to be a speaker on stage in front of thousands of people, and right now they're scared to get on a video on Instagram, because
Yeah.
visibility is such a scary thing for them, and it feels like such a leap to
Yeah.
be in that new identity of somebody who's not scared of being visible, who has message to share with lots and lots of people and is comfortable doing that. How do you start to help somebody shift that identity?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it all comes back to integration. The integrating the different aspects of self, the different aspects of identity. I mean, what I've been noticing in the identity field in general, because there's a lot of people that are talking about this right now, and a
Hmm.
lot of people that feel the call within them to level up or expand into this different version of themselves. And they're very much in between, right? It's like they know they're not who they used to be, but
Hmm.
they're not quite who they know they're supposed to be, right? So there's this void space that we hang out in. And we kind of don't know what to do with ourselves because we can't identify with either side, right? And so part of the integration process is to allow for that in between space. And a lot of people don't. They want to mindset themselves into like thinking positively, like, I am now this person. I'm now going to act as if. And it's not that that isn't a valuable tool. It can work for some people, but it can also bring up a lot of resistance for people. Like if they start imagining they're the speaker, their body might feel completely freaked out and they might feel very unprotected in their energy, especially if they're intuitive or sensitive or an empath in any way. Like, I have this conflicting desire of knowing I'm meant to be a speaker, yet I'm collapsing when I think about that idea. I don't feel safe in it and I don't know how to reconcile it. And so I think the first part I would say is honor that you're in the in between. Like, name that this is where you currently exist and that this is part of the journey
Mm.
of going into that new identity, is to acknowledge that you're in a bridge time right now and start to fill in the gaps or fill in the in between space with something that feels tangible and solid, little behavioral shifts, little noticings of insights that come up that affirm the new identity because it's digestible. It's not this huge leap. So, those would be the first thoughts that come to mind, is that generally I hold it as an integration
Mm.
process of bringing all of these pieces into one cohesive whole, honoring the in between space and knowing that it's normal that you might not feel clear. It's normal that you might not feel committed no matter how much you desire this other version of yourself. And then noticing these just little micro movements that are getting you further across that bridge of that in between space into the new identity.
Mm.
That's where I would start.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think sometimes we get so overwhelmed or sort of mad or disappointed at ourselves when shifts aren't happening faster, right?
Right,
And that's such an important and amazing time if you can to hire somebody, to work with somebody, or to be in a group or a community of women who are also doing that work, because
right.
you don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah,
And to see yeah, that like the shift takes time and you need that safe container. So I feel like
Yeah.
yeah, what you're speaking to is really creating safety and yeah, like a healthy container to be in that inquiry and to make that shift over time. It's not going to
Hmm.
happen overnight for most of us.
Hmm.
But having that support can be like invaluable at those times. I think we're both kind of speaking to women who are in the in between. That's certainly
Yeah.
um, a big segment of my audience and are ready to call in that support and have somebody else hold that space, that safe container for them to go through this identity shift so they're not doing it on their own.
Yeah. And I would also add in there with the community piece, because I love the idea of support, but there's also an energetic that takes
Mhm.
place in the community where everybody begins to amplify each other's healing experience. And there's an acceleration into this new version of yourself when you're in that shared group space, just from an energetic cohesiveness perspective, like as long as the facilitator is keeping that in mind, I would say, right? Like there is an art to the facilitation of a group space, but to be able to say, no, that this community isn't just for support, it's also for the activation, the amplification, the acceleration
Mhm.
of the identity shift that you're seeking.
Mhm.
Notice how you start to become more and more this version of yourself that you crave when you're in this. It's like a mirror or a match in terms of the community that's there. It's really is like our soul fractal, our soul group. And so it's very powerful. We heal in community.
Mhm.
Healing and visions don't happen in isolation. They don't happen by one person. They happen in a group context.
Mhm.
And we forget that sometimes on our journey of entrepreneurship, right? It's like
Yeah,
we're
solopreneurship.
yeah, we're stuck in our own little bubble of trying to be on social media or whatever the latest thing is to that we think is going to move the needle, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's such a great reflection about community. I know for me, it's been invaluable. I'm always putting myself in supportive community, and now creating more and more community and making that such an important pillar of my work because I see the amplification of, like you said, the acceleration and amplification of this energy. And, to come back to what you're saying about sort of the era we're in and the new paradigm, I'm also, interested in using human design and astrology a little bit in my work with clients. I feel like, astrologically, we've kind of seen this moment, this year coming for a while now.
Yeah.
And here we are. And I think, I know in my work, and I imagine probably in your work, having people understand themselves through the lens of astrology, human design, and gene keys can sometimes be the first step. I always say it's like very validating for people.
Yeah.
Again, to see it to be able to step into that identity because they can see it clearly
Mm.
in the stars, right? And in the way that
Mhm.
they were born and that they were built for this with these gifts and they can see the moment we're in, and how important it is for all of us to step up. So I know that those tools can be incredibly like helpful and validating. Um, let's talk more about the era we're in. Like, what do you when you say the new paradigm, like, um, what does that mean to you tangibly, and how are you supporting people in, or how are you seeing that reflected in other people that you're working with?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the way that I really look at the paradigm, the new paradigm, well, it's different. There's the paradigm shift that we're currently living through right now, and then there's the new paradigm, which is in
Come.
process,
Uh-huh.
right? Like it's built through us. We don't just arrive there. It's not like we get off a plane and then, there we are in a new paradigm, like we're in a new country. Though I think some of us would like the idea of that, right? Like it's just already there. But no, we need to actually build it. It's built through us, which is why we need to build ourselves. Um, but the way that I hold the paradigm shift is in three distinct ways. The first is that the systems and the structures that we exist within on just a base physical level, they're breaking down right now. The economic system, the political system, the educational system, the healthcare system, like we can see the fragmentation and the discord that's happening across the board collectively. And we can see that we're, being gamed to be divisive, to be
Mhm.
divided against each other, and to fight with each other rather than fight the system, right? There's this sort of larger psychology that is kind of trying to make the narrative go in a certain direction. But regardless, the systems themselves are breaking down. And at the same time, as they break down, we are also breaking down. Like there's changes within our own paradigm, how we perceive reality, how we are operating in our own world. So the paradigm shift is also a shift in consciousness. It's a shift in our own personal paradigm and how we move through the world and how we see our place in the world. So we've got the systems and the structures, we've got the consciousness shift, and then we also have the energetic shift. So there's an energetic shift in way of, um, you know, our energy system, our ability to understand energy, perceive energy, feel energy, whether that's through our own intuitive channel or the way that science is shifting and understanding frequency and energy medicine. There's many different ways to look at energy. I know it can be talked about in a very generic kind of way, like, oh, everything's energy. Well,
Mhm.
yes, duh, on a very base level, that's true, but we're being we're in an age where we're able to define energy in a way that's tangible and relatable, that we are bioelectric beings. And what does that mean? And circadian rhythm and taking care of our energetic health. We're entering really into this whole new era of understanding ourselves and our physicality through the lens of energy, understanding the underlying dynamics, energy psychology, like
Mhm.
these driving forces, understanding our energy systems, like the meridian system in Chinese medicine, or the chakra system in Ayurvedic medicine, right? So there's these many different ways that energy is becoming more of a central focus to our overall well-being and our overall sense of navigating reality. Even just the simple, uh, I get a gut sense that this isn't exactly what this appears to be, right? That's an energetic read of someone or a situation or an opportunity. And so to me, this is what the paradigm shift is about. It's about these systems breaking down, this consciousness breaking through, and this energetic understanding of like, whoa, I am more than what I originally thought I was.
Mhm.
And now, what do we do with that like combination of ingredients? We build something new. We know ourselves, we use our gifts, we get in alignment with our purpose, and we build something new.
Mhm.
That is how things change. So that's how I hold the
Yeah.
paradigm shift in the new paradigm.
I love that. That's such a clear and eloquent breakdown. Clearly, you've thought of this. This is like your whole framework, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it is.
it's such a, yeah, like clear way to explain it in a way that everybody's going to understand, I think. And I want to come back to, so your story about moving to Europe is incredible. And hearing that intuitive nudge that both you and your husband got, that's really incredible. Following it, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of this, when we're talking about energy and, people being more sort of open and consciousness raising, I think more of us are coming online, having these gifts come online.
Yeah.
Um, or I feel like it's almost like a peeling back of layers, right? Like we're
Yeah.
getting rid of some things that were keeping us from these gifts, from hearing the intuitive nudges that you're talking about, from, I mean, taking action is a whole different thing, but hearing them and being really connected to our intuition, however you want to phrase that. Do you have any advice for people around, I mean, clearly you support people in doing this work, but somebody who says, "Wow, I've never had a super clear intuitive download like that," or I think I'm getting these intuitive nudges, but then my monkey mind jumps in, or my conditioning, or whatever, and I feel like, I'm blocking the signal. What would you say to people who are still in that place of like not having clarity because they're not feeling connected to their intuition, or like they have a clear way to interact with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, one of the first places I would suggest starting is actually in asking yourself, where do you trust yourself?
Mhm.
Like where in all of your life experience, what do you recall where you really felt so clear in how you trusted yourself to move with an action, a decision, a connection? Because oftentimes we are actually acting intuitively, but
Mhm.
we don't label it as such. We label it as, oh, I just knew I needed to do this, or I really had a gut sense, or I really trust that what I just did was the right thing to do. So we've been moving intuitively, but not necessarily calling it that. I think intuition in general has been romanticized or kind of pedestaled or idealized as
Mhm.
like stories that I told, just told you, right? Like, oh, that's so cool. I want a
Mhm.
story like that. Why can't I have that
Yeah.
big moment with the specificity? I mean, this is just how I'm wired, though. I've operated like this my entire life. And so the experience that I had with my husband wasn't, I mean, it was definitely unique and I'm super grateful. So I don't want to come across as like, oh, it's no big deal. But
Mhm.
it wasn't surprising necessarily for me because I learned firsthand multiple times when I was younger and I didn't trust myself. I overrode my intuition often, and it always, always got me in trouble. I mean, which I like, it's not an area of conversation to go down, but like I learned firsthand that you just
Mhm.
do not override your intuition. You absolutely do not do that. Um, to go back to your question, I would just say, start with where you trust yourself
Mhm.
and start affirming that because as you do, you'll begin to notice like, oh, wait a minute, that was my intuition talking to me, or oh, whoa, all of a sudden now I am kind of sensing things more. Part of it too is like playing around with how does intuition even show up for you? Do you get an image? Do you hear something? Do you feel it in your body? There's in one of my programs that I offer, it's called Energy Essentials, and there's actually 12 different ways that our intuition is always talking with us.
Mhm.
And so just starting to learn like, what's my way?
Yeah.
And you don't even need to link it with intuition. Do I think in images?
Mhm.
When I have an idea, does it come in as something auditory?
Mhm.
So that's your intuitive channel. So sometimes it's just making the link of how you already operate and saying, oh, wait, that actually is intuition. And as you affirm that, acknowledge and affirm that,
Mhm.
more happens, right? Like
Mhm.
we just sort of start rolling with it. It's like the domino effect.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I'm thinking, of course, of our human design, authority too. And sometimes, again, that can be validating for people to see
Yeah.
that or other parts of their chart where it's like, oh, yeah, I get these strong intuitive hits and I have splenic, authority. So I guess that makes sense. And now I can trust that. Yeah. I was going to say, you probably have
Yeah.
splenic
Yeah.
authority
Yeah.
to have a story like that. And that's also helpful for the rest of us to know. It's right. Like splenic authority is like a very intense intuitive hit that needs to be taken action on quickly.
Yeah.
So for those of you listening, Vanessa has that authority. So if you don't relate to that, if you don't have those kind of hits, there's nothing wrong with you. It might just be that
No.
your intuition comes in different ways, right? I have emotional authority and I feel like it's such a process for me to like uncover that what is the action, what is the message that I need. It's kind of
Yeah.
underneath layers of emotional waves for me. So it might just, yeah, be very different for those of us, for all of us. And so taking the
Yeah.
time to understand that is important. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, this is all so helpful. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours. But I want you to take some time to tell people, what you're working on now. I know you
Yeah.
have a podcast and
Yeah.
you're really getting into podcasting and
Yes.
using your throat chakra to speak to people. Tell us more about what you're working on now and how they can connect with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a podcast called Born to Build the New, and that is, it's really all about becoming the version of you who's here to lead your calling. And so, my particular pathway for that is the combination of energy, because that's my wheelhouse, and I know how to walk people through that, identity. So, really locking that in because depending on the version of yourself that you're showing up as, your strategy is going to be different. You're going
Mm-hmm.
to think of things in a different way, right? So, the identity and then alignment. So, energy, identity, and alignment. So, you can become the version of you that's here to lead your calling. And so, everything in Born to Build the New, the podcast is really about um, just this is a supportive, fun conversation of what I've noticed on my own journey and what can help you on yours as a new paradigm builder. Like, we are um, unique in that because we're born to build the new, we might not always feel like we fit in
Mm-hmm.
to other, whether it's our family of origin or our cultural upbringing or the larger collective as a whole. And so we get this opportunity to really refine and redefine what it means to like own who we are in the world. So that's a big part of identity shifting. It isn't just the creative expression of who you could be. It isn't just knowing who you're designed to be. It's also the claiming of this is where I fit. This is where my purpose really does align with this larger context of the paradigm shift. And that to me is the sweet spot is um, really grounding into this deeper sense of belonging that's very expanded. So, those are some of the things that I talk about on the podcast. But as you mentioned, I am feeling a lot of activation around my voice. I have been so deep down the rabbit hole with my astrology, my
Mm-hmm.
human design, and my gene keys. And I started looking at all of those pieces when I was working with a coach that worked with those three systems for your personalized business prosperity.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently came across a document. This was 2021 when I was working with her. Came across a document that she made for me, and it was saying that my most expansive sense of self and prosperity path had to do when I'm talking and teaching. And I felt so validated when I saw that because all I've been wanting to do is like talk and teach and talk and teach. And so, and I love working one on one and facilitating
Mm-hmm.
groups, but I'm definitely feeling a lot of activation around my voice right now. And with that, there's three other podcasts that I'm working on developing because part of my larger vision is to develop a media company.
Wow.
And so, like, I purchased the domain name for that in
Mm-hmm.
2019, so
Mm-hmm.
like a while ago. So it's just been sitting on the back end, and that's what happens with intuition. Sometimes it's not the right time to really move on whatever drops in, but I needed to move on that domain name. So I have it parked and I'm ready to start, putting the pieces into place. And part of that is the development of these podcasts. So one of them is called the Design Decode, and it's all about astrology, human design, and gene keys, but really looking at it through the lens of helping people get more clear about who they are, these different aspects of these frameworks as it relates to their purpose work in the paradigm shift,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, really, everything I do goes back to being born to build the new, your purpose work, the paradigm shift, using your gifts to really build out that pathway for you and for the collective. So, we're looking at those three systems, but with this larger context in mind. So, that is conversations with guests, and you can go to my website. I'll give you the link so you
Yeah.
have it to share. But basically, people can apply to be on that. They just need to have some background in either astrology, human design, or gene keys. Then I have another one called Rewilding Vanessa,
Mm-hmm.
which is my personal, um, it's my personal vitality journey that I'm currently on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just this So it revolves around when I moved to France back in 2024. So I was in the Netherlands for
Hmm.
8 years
Hmm.
ish. Moved to France, and we live right near a forest.
Hmm.
And I fell in love with this forest. And I felt like I mean, it didn't just feel sacred, it also felt playful and joyful and reminded me of like 500 other lifetimes I've had
Oh.
in like such, I feel such kinship and strength in the forest. And so um, I've been on this journey with the forest and hanging
Mm.
out in the forest and just walking and talking in the forest. And I have a holistic apothecary. So I have a graduate degree in holistic health education, and I have a huge passion for vitality and how we can take care of ourselves more from a sovereign and holistic perspective. Like, what is in our apothecary? How do we create an apothecary for ourselves? And so I
Love
have
it.
I'm looking over here because it's over in the corner there. I have a very extensive one, and I just want to start talking about what's in there and what are the nourishment practices that I do to keep myself well and vital. And
Mm.
so that will be um, partially me talking about those things, but also I'll be having guests on that as well. Like I have someone coming up at the end of the month who is an ecosomatic guide. So she actually takes people through the forest, through nature, and then helps them connect with their body while we're out in nature. And I just want rewilding to be part of the collective narrative because we're moving into a time where there's a lot of fear coming up around AI and how that shapes who we are and how we relate to each other. And I mean, even now, I'm seeing so many people in the transformational healing space, and I'm like, oh my God, like AI wrote your posts.
Hmm.
They're completely hollowed out, and I don't feel any of their soul or essence in it. I mean, it's a cool tool, but like, dude, where is your voice? Like, where are you? And so when we rewild, it's like we're so connected with our essence when we're in nature that it becomes unshakable by fear, by AI, by
Mm.
sameness, by any of that. So that's
Love
one
that.
of the other podcasts. And so, anyway, I'll leave it there. But basically, I think the point is I love to talk. I love to be part of this larger cultural narrative that we're currently moving through from a paradigm shift perspective. And um, I don't remember the rest of your question, but
Anything else
that,
that you're working on? Well, I just wanted to add to what you're saying about, I mean, the rewilding podcast sounds very cool. All of this. I can't wait to dive into the content you're creating. But to go back to that conversation we were having about where do people start if they don't
oh,
feel like they can listen to their intuition?
yeah,
Nature, right? Nature is
right.
such an ally and intuitive guide and connection point for us, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great place to start, especially if you're feeling like most of us, right? Overwhelmed, yeah, full of information, full
Oh,
of um overwhelmed with options, overwhelmed with technology, like you're so disconnected from your body and your connection to
yeah.
earth. That sounds like a beautiful place to help people recharge and replug and rewild. I love it.
Yeah, and also get still too.
Mm,
It's
hmm.
like we really undervalue this idea of stillness or boredom, yet that's exactly what we need to tap back into intuition and to our sense of self is just some space,
Hmm.
some spaciousness from our thoughts, from all the information, from everything that's moving at not a natural rhythm.
Hmm.
It's not a natural rhythm. And so anything that we can do with nature will get us back into our natural rhythm. And then we can think more clearly. We can move more clearly in the world. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this. Your story is fascinating. The work that you do is so needed in the world right now, and I feel so aligned with it. So I can't wait to, have more conversations and see where things lead you. I mean, when you're following your intuition, who knows what the future will bring? It's
Right.
all very exciting. And of course, I'll link to your website where people can learn more about all of these touch points that you talked about. And yeah, just to reiterate, helping people build what they're here to build in
Yeah.
this wild new paradigm we're entering in this, new energetic field is incredibly important. And if you got something out of this podcast, reach out to Vanessa or leave a comment or reach out to me. We'd love to hear from you and what you're feeling called to build right now, because I think we all need that support and structure to make it real. Like now is the
Mhm.
time. The
Mhm.
waiting period is over. Now is the time.
Mhm.
I feel so clear on that and lit up about that.
Yeah.
So thank you again for this amazing conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun to talk with you.